Hi, this is Rich, and welcome to my blog. Okay, we're going to talk about implants, what they are and how to get rid of them. But this is deep and creepy, okay? So a little warning right here before we get started is that this is probably not a good video for you if, don't watch it if you're a little bit squeamish, or if you're not really ready to hear this kind of wild and crazy shit, okay? It's deep and freaky, okay? I said that already, but yeah. What are implants? Okay, the kind of implant I'm talking about is a psychological or mental implant. It's implanted into the subconscious mind. Now there are physical implants that, little, devices and such, electronic devices or little things, receivers, transceivers, things that can be implanted in you. And that's a kind of implant too, but we're not talking about that today. Not here. That's not my specialty, and that would be somebody else. Okay, so what I'm talking about is like somebody implanting a thought into your mind. Somebody implanting behavior patterns into your head, into your mind, the subconscious mind. So a simple way to understand they call it implant because it is being literally a thought, a seed thought is being planted within the consciousness. Okay, and they like to put it deep so that on a conscious level you can't remember it, you don't know it's there, and it's just part of your subconscious shit. And this is hard to talk about, not so much because I don't understand it or I haven't dealt with it, but it's such a mind fuck. It's like the grandfather of all fucking mind fucks. That is its purpose, is to fuck with your mind. Okay. And the other really creepy thing is that, and this is the hard part. This is one of the hard parts where you shouldn't be listening to this if you're not ready. It has to do with your past lives and having lived millions and millions and millions of years and doing all kinds of things in physical reality and in higher planes of existence and moving between different dimensions back and forth. And this has to do with what we've been doing as spiritual beings with great ability for millions and millions of years and lifetimes of experience. We used to implant each other. We used to, groups of beings would get together and try to mind fuck other groups of beings. It's military. You conquer a nation, you conquer a planet, and you want to implant the entire population with thought control stuff. So it's done psychologically, and you can do it individually, one person at a time, or you can do it on a group of people all at once. Now, if I get this is hi, how you doing? Welcome to my blog. What's up? We're talking about some shit here. And I'm going to tell you, the only reason I'm going to bring it up and talk about it is because there are some things you can do that can get rid of the implants. You can remove the implants, okay? But yeah. Let's take a simple concept of an implant. First of all, you could use this implant technology for good, but it's mostly been done for fucking everybody. Okay, so imagine you're from a civilization, you're having the great adventure. You're multidimensionally conscious. You're able to move into the physical plane of existence and then back out. Like you can go out of body at will. You have these great abilities, right? And or you can incarnate into a physical experience, and you can be a human body, you can be a reptilian, you can be any manner of extraterrestrial body types, right? And be involved in any kind of civilized or civilization of civilized nature and be susceptible to this implanting issue. And you can be on either side. You could be part of the team that's doing the implanting, or you can be part of the team that's getting implanted. It's just the way we used to do things, okay? So let's say you're living a life and it's in a wonderful place and it's a wonderful time, and you drop dead, and you remember the lifetime, and then you can choose whether or not to reincarnate back into physical life or stay in the greater reality where implanting isn't really possible. It's you have too much of your awareness and ability with you, and you're too free and able to fall for this implant business. So the implant business is really mostly about implanting people when that are incarnating or living in the physical universe experience. And a lot of the implanting, most of the implanting is done while you have a human body or a physical type body. It can be done when you're out of your physical body, incorporeal, in your astral body or second body or something. But it's more difficult, one, to catch you, and two, to get the implant to stick. Okay. So let's just look at it from a perspective of being implanted when you are in a physical body. Okay. So you're living a life on some planet somewhere. It's a great civilization, yada, yada, high tech and all that. And one day you hear the news is that your galaxy or your part of the space is being invaded by bad guys. Long story short, you got to crank up and get ready to defend your wonderful civilization. So let's just say this, you know, the incoming bad guys come in and the fighting starts. Well, the technology is so advanced on both sides that both sides get that it's really not about force and physical domination. What you really want to do is dominate the beings, the individual beings on the planet. And to do that, you want to be able to dominate the mind, and in order to dominate the mind, you want to control and dominate the subconscious mind. So everybody learns all these things about the mind and the subconscious mind. And so the plan is to catch as many of these beings on this planet as possible, and in group implant them with implant commands. It's like hypnotic suggestions, but a little bit more complicated and sinister. And so you want to implant the entire population if possible. And so the entire population is running around like a bunch of zombies, or they have a whole new mindset. It's all this MK Ultra sort of thing is, you know, part of that technology too. And so you can go Google MK Ultra and get drilled down into how wicked and sinister that is. And so just kind of think of it like that, but from the perspective of beings have been doing this for millions and millions of years to each other. Okay? So most of us have probably been implanted. And the question is whether or not your implants are triggered, or are they dormant somewhere in deep recesses of your subconscious mind, never to be triggered ever, while you're in a physical experience. tied into the physical body and the physical subconscious mind thing. Okay, so so if the one side catches the other side, that's what they'll do. Okay, so as an aside, this don't go to the light. You hear about go to the light when you drop dead. Well, this is people have been implanted to go to the light. It's a post-hypnotic suggestion, post-hypnotic command. And in other words, while the person was hypnotized or unconscious one way or another, they were giving a command, a hypnotic type command, that it's a post command. In other words, a command to do something or act a certain way, feel a certain way after post hypnosis or post implant. So go to the light is the thing where we go, oh yeah, go to the light, because we are implanted, indoctrinated to think that going to the light is good, it's safe, the good guys are there, and that's our beacon and the place to go and the thing to do. And in fact, it is quite possible that after a person dies, if they go to the light, they're walking right into an implant scenario. In other words, it's exactly what the bad boys want you to do. And you will go into a belief system territory or reality system or afterlife experience that is what it is. But we're not talking about the go to the light story today. We're talking about just the implant stuff. So the way this implanting thing works, think of it like the idea is to get a thought, a behavior, or an emotional response, or a whole package of them into your subconscious mind so that you don't know they're there, you don't remember it happening, yet those subconscious commands, the way it's all set up, will trigger under certain conditions or circumstances. I think everybody's seen enough spy movies and all this sort of thing to get the general idea. And then the stage entertainment hypnotist will hypnotize people to bark or cluck like a chicken and stuff like that, or feel really warm and take off their clothes, and things like this. It's the command is put into the subconscious mind while the analytical mind is not fully awake and aware. So an implant occurs when the being is rendered unconscious or in a very deep, snoozy trance state. So it's easy enough to just bang somebody on the head and they'll go unconscious, and you can implant them that way. But there's other ways to do it, using pain and drugs and hypnosis or repetitive sounds or words or actions to lock the attention and then bring the brainwave pattern down out of beta, out of alpha, deep into theta and delta brainwave state. And this is where the person is most susceptible. And so then whatever the implant programming happens to be, that's when it's input. And the way you input the implanted commands, you can do it with monitors. You can do it, you can literally stage a play. It's not a monitor, it's like two people doing things and saying things to each other. And if you're the subject of the implant, you're watching all that happening, and you're recording. Your mind is, and your subconscious mind is recording every word. Now, the more that the subconscious mind can record, and the less that the analytical mind is recording, the better the implant's going to work. Because if you have analytical awareness of what's coming in, with the understanding and the awareness of the intent of it coming in, you can fight off any suggestions. And they don't go deep into the subconscious. So best to get a person into a deep trance state, or render them unconscious or in serious pain. When we're in serious pain, our attention is tightly focused on the pain, and everything else is, we don't have attention on that, and all the words and everything that's coming in at us and everything that's being said, we're not analytically getting it because our attention is focused on the intense pain. So there's different ways to do that. And again, this is a huge subject, and it's hard to put it all into a real tight, lesson plan here. It's just something I wanted to share with you because I think the more people understand this, the better. It's been going on a long time, and it's a little bit freaky and creepy and deep, and I kind of hesitate even sharing it with you guys because I don't want to freak you out and creep you out too much. But at the same time, if you know what it is and it's real to you that this is sort of could be happening to you and you're affected by some implanted commands and implants from long, long ago that are affecting your behavior, there are ways to deal with it. We'll get into that in a little bit. So, yeah. When there's like an advertisement, you're watching some ad, there's the basic concept of repetitive. They'll give you the suggestion, they'll repeat it 3 or 4 times, or 5 or 6 or 10 or 12. And that's if they're doing it on a level that you're conscious of it. But if they can slip that same command in over and over and over again, subliminally, subliminal, liminal is light, and sub is below the light or below the light of consciousness. In other words, below the level of consciousness. Subliminal, they can slip that thought or that command or that emotional response thing in there, then that will make their suggestion or their implanting that sort of thing into your subconscious even better. There's technology now. You can Google the patents for mind control and all this sort of stuff. They're really getting sophisticated with it, and they can embed emotional responses, thoughts, things like this within the audio and the video of streaming video and TV and all that stuff, and also in music and songs and stuff. So we're being hit really hard these days with high-tech domination, manipulation, and control. And a lot of it is coming through as an implant. Okay, so the more you understand about it, the more able you will be to defend yourself or fend that off, or at least spot some of the stuff they're doing and go, not happening. Okay, all right, what else? Let me give you an example, and this is just a real life, an idea of what kind of implanting has been done over the millions of years that could be buried in your subconscious mind. It's like, what do they do? How do they do it? Why? How? What are you talking about, Rich? Well, let's just say something like this. Let's say you got caught, and now they sit you in a chair. It's you can imagine it's kind of like a theater, a movie theater. Everybody gets set down in a chair. They get walked in, so you can have a mass, 1,000 people, a massive amount of people, and sit them down in their little chairs. And you might get strapped in, or you might be drugged in the first place before you got ordered to walk in there. You might be under, everybody's holding, stormtroopers with guns. Sit down in these chairs. Anyway, the group of people will sit down in these chairs, and whether you get that hair dryer looking thing that comes over your head or not, doesn't matter. And whether they strap your hands down in chairs like that or not, it doesn't really matter. The point is, you're sitting there, eyes wide open, and you're looking at a screen, a monitor, or you're hearing the audio. And when they turn the motherfucker on, they're going to blast you and everybody else in the auditorium with the implant commands and the programming. And what kind of light show they're going to show you, it's all been tried. All beautiful, lovely images and beautiful music, beautiful images and really icky music and sound effects, really pleasant sound effects and beautiful music and really icky images. The beautiful images, you can see the ugly images subliminal where you can't see them, and vice versa. It's just every possible way that it can be experimented and tried out. It's been done. I mean, this is a lot of millennia that beings have had an opportunity to practice fucking other people over. Okay? So, that's kind of the how. What? Well, what sort of things would they implant you with? Well, to be a loyal citizen, to be loyal to the new ruler, that sort of thing, sure. You're stupid, you're ignorant, you know nothing, that sort of thing. Here's a good one. You're a sinner. You're a creature created by the Creator. Worship and honor your Creator. Things like you will forget, no memory loss, amnesia. This is your first time. People could walk out of these auditoriums just mind wiped. They're not really mind wiped. Their conscious memory is wiped. Their subconscious memories, or their subconscious mind, is packed full of memory if you could only access it. But then they have these implanted commands. Can't access the subconscious. I'm afraid to access my subconscious mind. I'll be overwhelmed by my past. It's better to not remember. It's better to forget. These are all these negative thoughts that you might have during a day are very likely right out of implanting over the millennia. Another really creepy way they do this stuff is they'll give you a command, a positive command, and then they'll give you the opposite command. It's like you might have a command to create the perfect life, and you get the beautiful pictures and everything, and then just repetitive, to create the perfect life, create the perfect life. Yeah, you're born to create the perfect life. Oh, perfect life. Oh, yeah. But they're also, at the same time, they're hitting you with to destroy the perfect life. Destroy the perfect life. Destroy the perfect life. It's like, that's mindfuck stuff. And both of these are in your subconscious mind where you can't remember any of that shit. You just, when you think of the perfect life, you just don't feel so good. You're depressed. You're bummed. You're not analytical about it. You're certainly not creating a perfect life. You're more likely to see yourself destroying the perfect life, or you will dramatize both sides of the implant. You'll be furiously working to create your perfect life, and then your subconscious, without realizing you're doing it, well, you can observe that you do it, you're destroying everything you've been working for. You're destroying the perfect life for yourself. And you go, why do I do that? Why do I do that? Well, both sides are implanted. Create a perfect life, destroy a perfect life. And this kind of conflicting implant is very, very popular. That's a good one. What it does is it keeps a person in emotional and mental turmoil and frustrated in their life. And this causes that negative energy and weakness in spirit that keeps us from being able to more easily awaken and flourish and prosper and be all we can be. Okay? So this devious mechanism of putting these thoughts in our heads, implanting these thoughts and behaviors and emotional responses into our subconscious mind is part of a, oh, I just got started to get a headache right there. Right. Feel it? Can you feel it? Okay, it went away. That's something that this will do. When you trigger this shit, all you gotta do is fucking talk about it, think about it, and you can start triggering it. Oh, there it is again. It's a trick you can learn is when these headaches or weird things start happening, you look at the thought or thoughts you had just before it happened. And sometimes you can, that's something you thought triggered the implant. And especially if you think the positive and the negative, the polar opposites at the same time. You go, oh, that feels so good. Yeah, no fucking shit, motherfucker. That was the idea after all. But yeah. Fuck me, man. Warning, warning, don't watch this. Oh, too late. You've already watched this much. I told you, be careful. So yeah, where was I? So yeah, they'll put all these opposites into your head to keep you down and spiritually weak and unable, and every impediment to reawakening to all that you really are. Everything they can throw at you, they will, and they did already. That's why we're on a planet like this, in a mess like this. Okay, so so that's how bad it can get. Okay, now let me say this about all that. It's that this may not apply to you. You know, this, for you, this may be just another fucking horror story. You know, one more crazy piece of shit that isn't true for you. It doesn't apply to you. And that's okay. All right. And if that's you, that's great. But I used to do a lot of this past life regression stuff, and these implants were all over the place. People getting implanted. I would help a person run out. It was a traumatic incident reduction sort of thing. And you go past lives earlier, and you'd find these life experiences, you know, millions of years ago. You know, space wars. They call it space opera. You know, it's the drama of outer space. It's like the whole Star Trek series and all that stuff. Star Wars series. This is recall right off the right out of the subconscious mind. That stuff is. That's the writers. They're tapping into their past life memories to write these wild and crazy stories. Sure, with a little creative license, you know, and pumping it up. But a lot of the Star Trek stuff and all of the Star Wars series, that sort of drama and those kind of stories, we lived those millions, thousands or millions of years ago. And that stuff is going on right now, I believe, of course. You know, all these different space civilizations, or what we'd call space civilizations, they're extraterrestrials, advanced civilizations. There's wars and fighting, and then there's happy places too. But this stuff is all going on. So, as I was giving these past life regression sessions, I'm learning all this stuff. And I was learning this in the early 70s. And it was way before its time. You don't talk about that stuff back then. And the thing about implants, nobody knew about that stuff. And the entities, nobody knew about that stuff. Except we were dealing with that stuff all the time back then. So anyway, it's time to talk about it, I guess. So, there's two ways to deal with implants. And back in the 70s and 80s, I was using the method of doing the past life traumatic incident reduction techniques. And when you hit an implant, you know, like getting shot or stabbed or hung and got your head chopped off, that's normal shit. And that's a challenge in itself, helping a person recall that and get really into it and really see it and feel it. And it's like, for some people, their memories are like fucking awesome. And it's like reliving it. And it's like, it's a handful. So you really got to know what you're doing to do a past life regression session like that. If you want to learn how to just regress or do happy times, past life happy times, well, that's different. But if you do a past life happy time, be careful, because you're still accessing the subconscious mind, and that's where all the garbage is. That's all the pain and unconsciousness there. So you got to step lightly and be careful. You don't trigger your negative shit when you're looking at your happy shit. Okay, be careful. All right, and I might be doing a past life regression, kind of an intro, one-day training thing with the commands I use and the basic principles involved. And it's certainly not the whole subject in the course of how the mind works and subconscious mind and how you track this stuff down and all the details of what to do and what not to do and how to do it all in detail. Right? That took months of intensive training to really get it down and practice doing it and all that. But I am going to do a basic one-day training program on this past life incident reduction technique that is the same technique that's used to access or locate and then disassemble or eradicate the memory of the implants. And it'll pull up all the content, what was implanted, but now you're looking at it analytically. And so it's no more implanted deep within the subconscious mind. It is like you pulled it like a fucking weed, bitch. So that's why I've been acting so fucked up. Ha ha! Ooh. Okay. So that's one way to deal with these implants. Okay. Now, the other way I didn't discover till a couple of years ago, and that's it's doing soul contract revocation or soul contract clearing. I would have never thought that locating agreements that I made and then revoking those agreements, canceling and rendering invalid agreements that I made, would allow me to blow off implants and no longer be the effect of the implant commands and suggestions and all that garbage that's in an implant. I would have never thought it. But I've been doing soul contract revocation enough now It's just like, there's a step, there's about 14 steps in doing a soul contract revocation, and you pull up all the agreements you've ever made on a specific subject area, and what is happening is you're pulling up agreements that are directly involved in the craziness that is in the implant itself. Oh, let's say it was like that one I did to create a perfect life. Well, if your life's fucked up and you're doing a soul contract session, my fucked up life, right? So the way I teach you to do a soul contract revocation thing is that I first help you define your issue. I got a fucked up life. Help. That's your issue. Then the next thing you do is you start pulling up the agreements, the things that you agree as regards your fucked up life. Yeah, I agree my life is fucked up. I agree that, there's a way to access all the different agreements that you've made, soul contract agreements and other agreements, and it's these agreements that you've made that are causing you to be the effect of the implants that you've gotten like hundreds, thousands, millions of years ago. They just lay dormant in your subconscious mind, waiting to be triggered, like little booby traps. You do something in this life, you see something, you hear something, you experience something, and it will trigger some freaking million-year-old implant behavior pattern or emotional response thing or a way of being, personality character trait or something. And now you're like, you're a different person for it. But it's so subtle you don't know it. You just feel like, hey, I'm different after the car wreck. I'm different after I broke up with blah blah. Things have changed since the thing that happened. And you got your shit fucking stirred up. And now you've got you're the effect of your implant. Without even knowing that's what the hell is going on. But there's agreements made back then, and it's the same agreements that you're pulling up when you're doing a soul contract revocation. Because you're gonna pull up all. It's like step 1, 2, 3. About step number 4 in the soul contract revocation technique is pull up all agreements that you've made relative to your issue. In the past, the present, and the future, on all timelines, not just this timeline, but other alternate timelines, and in the past, present, and future, pull up all the agreements made in this density, this reality, this universe, and all other densities, realities, universes, and realms. So whether you analytically know of all the ones you pull up or not, you command this. And you're gathering the agreements that you've made that had to do with an implant here, and an implant there, and an implant everywhere. It's fucked up, man. They're all over the place. Yeah. So we bury all that shit, right? And we are as smart as we are today because of shit like implants, entities, and traumatic incidents that in themselves put in behavior, implant, just a regular traumatic incident. Something blows up in your fucking face 3 lifetimes ago and you're splattered all over the fucking wall. And you're out of your body going, what just happened? But all the, if you made some weird decisions at the moment of that, you may not quite remember the details after you're out of your body and looking around. Uh-oh, what just happened? So these things get into our subconscious mind, right? So okay, so you can access the agreements that undercut or are the prerequisites for a reality experience. You know, somebody might pick up, hey, give me some of this coffee. And they go, oh, yeah, thanks for the coffee. They go, that's cold. I want some hot coffee here. Oh, sorry. And somebody else might pick up the same cup of coffee or another one sitting right next to it, and they're exact same temperature. And the other person goes like this and go, that's good, thank you. It's not cold coffee. It's a perception. It's a value. It's a standard. This guy likes his boiling freaking hot coffee, and if it's not boiling freaking hot, it's cold. Okay, dude, here's some hot coffee. And the other person, normal. It's not super hot, but it's not cold fucking coffee. It has to do with agreement. What's this guy has agreed with himself, with others, with life? Agreement, you know. Two people live they're in the same exact situation. And one's okay with it and one isn't. This is fucked up, man. Like being overseas. Let's say you're in the Army or something, or the Air Force, like I was in, and you're over there with your buddies, and you're away from home and all that stuff, and well, like one guy's really happy to be there. He loves that shit. And the other one is totally depressed. And they jump in the same truck every morning, they go out to the same bomb dump, and they do the same kind of work. And one of them absolutely loves it. Happy as can be. They're living the life. And the other one is like, oh, bummed out. It's what we agree is a good thing, is in play. What we agree is a bad thing is in play. We've agreed to experience our life the way it is, and we've agreed it is what we consider it to be. So this whole thing about agreements is like really powerful, yet simple. Because back in the 70s, it was quite the complex challenge to learn the past life regression stuff, all the details, so you can just start working with other people and start doing these traumatic incident reduction sessions, these past life regression sessions. It was rather involved. Yet today, when you do a soul contract revocation thing, it's relatively simple. You can learn in a few days and practice a little bit and get good at it, and you can start revoking the agreements. And then on step 12 of this revocation technique, you pull up all the implants that have to do with your issue, and you just remove them. And they will remove without even seeing all the details of the implant, and without having to relive it. It blows away. It's like you've unlocked it from the subconscious mind by going down here and picking off these agreements. These agreements, you've agreed to this, and this. This is all the implant stuff. You've agreed to this, and this, and during your soul contract revocation thing, you stopped agreeing. You're able to no longer. I don't agree with that. And this thing looks like and the implants will release. So yeah. So that's all I want to say about it right now, the implant thing. There's a lot more, and it's not easy to talk about this stuff because psychologically, I try to keep it light, but this stuff can fuck people up, man. And of course, removing the implants can really help a person change their life for the better. But big picture, we've been through a lot. We're big boys and girls. We're powerful beings that have really been through it. And some of us have come here to see what this place is like. and to kind of like, we've agreed to forget like everybody else so that we could live it and appreciate the hardship that other beings that are less fortunate, we can appreciate more what they're having to deal with as regards to what they have to break free of and get out of. And big picture, I believe that beings like ourselves have gone through so many life experiences, millions and millions and millions, that when we got into the physical universe experiences, they were unique in that there is physical pain. And when there is physical pain, there is unconsciousness. Unconsciousness is turning it all off. It's just being not conscious or unconscious of something. Well, the something is pain. And the pain is just intense, very intense, focused, emotional, or physical energy phenomena that is extremely difficult and unpleasant to focus on, feel, and experience. So when it gets too bad, we get, that's done, and we turn it off, okay? Physical body is still feeling it, but we are not. We'd like, out of there. But our subconscious mind is still recording all the pain, all the unconsciousness, and every word that is being said and every action that is being done within that environment. And this has worked really well for those who want to dominate, manipulate, control, and deceive us. They can give us all this stuff just like a really great hypnotic command. You will wake up barking like a dog. Or some, and I'm just being light about it, they're very clever in what they get us thinking and feeling to keep us fucked up, so that we don't once again awaken to how powerful and able we are as beings. One of the things they've done is, or part of this phenomena, is our inability to easily move out of body, or the inability to easily recall what we are doing when our physical body is asleep. So the implants are a good thing to understand and know how to deal with if and when it is important to you to deal with those things. I guess that's all I wanted to say. You know, something light and fun today. I almost want to apologize for bringing this freaky shit to your attention. But it's a warning at the beginning. Don't watch this stuff if you're not ready and all that. It's not a good idea. But if you are, it's a real good idea. So yeah. What inspired me is, like, I blew some implants shit out just yesterday doing a soul contract revocation session. So I go, hey, you know what? I think it's time for more people. It's time for, at least if people are aware and they're reaching and they're looking, you know, then maybe they'll find my stuff and maybe it'll help. So that's all I wanted to say about the subject. And if you want to find out more about the soul contract revocation thing, it's at richwest.net. And also this kind of an introduction to the past life regression stuff is over there at richwest.net too. Okay. All right. Thanks for watching, and feel free to comment if you like. Okay. I'll talk to you later, all right? Bye-bye.